This is rental car number 89, and today I'm back in the 2018 Chevy Equinox LT with all-wheel drive. I actually reviewed this car about 20 rentals ago or so, but it was so dirty, so filled with pet hair that I really didn't feel like I gave it a good, honest review. So I wanted to give it a second try. And I'm glad I did, because the second time around, well, I realized just how many great features there are in the new Equinox. Alright, but before we pop the hood, let's talk price real quick. The LT all-wheel drive Equinox retails for about $29,495, and LT is a mid to upper trim level. So, for example, the trims on the Equinox go L, LS, LT, and then Premier. So this is a better than usual Chevy Equinox we're looking at right now. So with that in mind, let's get started by popping the hood and taking a look at what's underneath. So the Equinox is a compact sport utility vehicle and has front-wheel drive and comes with a 1.5-liter turbocharged inline 4-cylinder engine with variable valve timing. It also has a 6-speed automatic transmission that kicks out about 170 horsepower, and with all that, you get some pretty good gas mileage. 28 miles per gallon in the city, 39 on the highway with a 14.9-gallon fuel tank. That fuel cap door is located on the driver's side and comes with a new capless technology, so there is no twist-off cap. Alright, so what does a 1.5-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder get you? Well, Chevy estimates the 0 to 60 time on this one is about 7.2 seconds, which is not bad for a SUV like this. When I was driving this around, I found it to be pretty peppy, right? I had no trouble accelerating on and off the highway, keeping up with traffic, and having just a general good time while I was driving it. So, at least from my perspective, I don't think performance is an issue with the Equinox. But I'm not super picky. I mean, these are work vehicles for me. I'm doing basically long commutes on the highway. What I really care about is comfort and style, and to get that, we got to jump inside the vehicle and take a look at what Chevy has done with the redesign of the Equinox. So let's start with the key fob. Here it is. It's a great shape, great weight. 4 or 5 buttons on the front, nothing on the back but the Chevy logo. I gotta say, this is a great key fob. I like them to be just a little heavier than normal, so you know it's actually in your pocket, and this one delivers. And with that key fob, you get push button start. It's located on the dash to the right of the steering wheel. This works great. It's just a small circular button with a green light to tell you whether or not the car is on or off. And here's the steering wheel setup. Nice circular steering wheel wrapped in soft leather. On the left-hand side are your cruise controls. Just between you and me, typically these are on the right side, but hey, whatever. On the right side, you get buttons to interact with the digital display in the gauge cluster, along with your phone buttons. On the back of that side of the steering wheel, you get your volume rockers. I'm a huge fan of these. They're super intuitive, and I actually reach for them even when I'm not in Chevys. And then up above, you have a very nice gauge cluster, 4 dials, 2 big ones, and then a pretty good sized digital screen right in the center. I don't know about you, but I like this setup. I especially like the blue accents around the dials. The digital screen is good, but it's not best in class. And I say that because there's not a whole lot of color here, and the fonts, at least in my opinion, are just a little bit too small. Sometimes they are difficult to read while you're driving. But that's just me. You probably have better eyesight than I do. Anyway, let's move on by looking to the left of the steering wheel. Here's all your standard controls, right? Window controls, controls to adjust the mirror. That's that little circular button you see right there. Up on the dash, 2 controls, one to adjust the lighting in the gauge cluster, the other to adjust the automatic headlights. And down below, you get your trunk release. And then one more control I want to point out to you. It's kind of hidden down at the bottom of the door, but down here there's the controls to adjust the hatch. So if you hit this button, the back door is going to open up all the way for you. Since we're outside the vehicle, let's talk about side view mirrors. Now the Equinox does come standard with blind side detection. You can see that by looking at this little icon etched into the glass right here. Now when someone is in your blind spot, this icon is going to illuminate yellow. And when someone is in your blind spot and you have your turn signal on, well, the icon's going to flash at you just to give you that little extra warning. But let's jump back into the car so we can look at some of the other amenities the Equinox comes with. First off, I want to shift your gaze upward towards the ceiling. That's where you'll find a sunglass holder and 2 lights to illuminate the cabin. And I'm not sure if you can notice, but this car is so new that it actually still has those little plastic pieces covering up the lights. But anyway, there's a couple more buttons up here that I want to mention. Those black buttons with 1, 2, 3, those are the buttons you can use to program your garage doors. There's also an OnStar and an SOS button right up here above the rear view mirror. And that rear view mirror is pretty standard, no buttons on it of any kind, just streamlined, just the way I like it right now. All right, so let's talk infotainment. This is your 8-inch touchscreen display. It's set up really nicely. You have several icons on the home screen to help you navigate through the menu structures. You also have dedicated buttons below the touchscreen itself to help you jump to all the important ones. And then everything is set up pretty conveniently. I wouldn't call this best in class though, right? A lot of the other auto manufacturers are changing their touchscreens to be more like iPads. Big, bright icons that help you jump to all the settings and features. This one doesn't really have that, but it works fine, right? The radio works great. I could connect my phone via Bluetooth within about 15 seconds, and it's also compatible with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Two great things to play around with. So while I don't think this is the best thing out there, it's perfectly functional and works just fine. And then below the touchscreen are your climate controls. I like that there are two nice big dials on the right and left side with digital readouts to tell you exactly what temperature you're setting the car at. These are definitely made out of high quality materials because they click really satisfyingly when you adjust the settings on them. I also like that there's nice big buttons in the middle to control everything else that's important, including the heated seat controls. So all in all, I was very happy with these. And then below the climate controls, you have a nice storage cutout with a USB port, an auxiliary jack, and a power port built in right here. I like this area. It's easy to reach, and really it's the perfect place to keep your cell phone while you're driving. Then behind there you have the gear shift, a couple of cup holders, and some other controls. The first controls I want to mention are the all-wheel drive button. It's located right here above the gear shift. Just a simple button you can press to turn on and off all-wheel drive. It's a great location. It's really easy to reach, and this works great. The gear shift itself is not super impressive, although it is wrapped in leather and shifts through the gears pretty smoothly, especially for a car on this price point. And then you have the two cup holders to the right of the gear shift. These are fine, nothing special here. And then behind the gear shift, you have the electronic parking brake. I have come to not really like these, but this one works fine. Pull up to activate the parking brake, push down to turn it off. And then lastly for this area, there is a small cutout right here behind the parking brake. It's kind of a perfect place to keep your cell phone if you like. I like having these cutouts. I think it's useful to have little storage areas hidden throughout the car just to make things a little bit more convenient. And then behind there is a center armrest. Underneath there is a little bit of storage space. I like that it includes this long, narrow shelf. This feels like it's made out of nice quality materials, and it attaches and detaches really well, so I don't think it's going to slide around at all. The storage area itself is pretty uneventful. No power ports down here. You just get a small LED light. And then the glove box, nothing really special here, right? There's no USB ports in here, no valet key, no shelving system, nothing special. Just a nice size storage area to keep all of your registration and other materials. And then lastly, because I think I skipped this, but the seats are adjustable in a lot of great ways. They're electronic controls with lumbar support, which is one of my favorites. So all in all, I found this vehicle to be really comfortable and easy to adjust on the fly. All right, so that's all of the major highlights from the front seat. Let's jump into the back seat so you can see what kind of amenities your passengers are going to get to enjoy. First off, and probably most importantly, legroom is abundant back here. I'm 6 feet tall, I got that driver's seat pushed back a good ways, and I still have about 10 inches of legroom. That's fantastic. There's also two dedicated vents on the back of the center armrest for the front seats, and then down below in the same area, there is a power port, although you will need an adapter. There are no USB ports of any kind back here in the back seat. And then there's also a center armrest that folds down and includes two cup holders. All right, so that's all the amenities for your passengers. For you, what I think is important is that these seats do collapse down, and pretty easily too. You just have to pull up on this little plastic piece on the top of the seat, and the seat collapses without almost any effort at all. It folds forward very simply, And then you're left with a large amount of storage space in the Equinox. And since we're already looking at the back of the Equinox, let's jump outside and use the key fob to open up the hatch. Just want to get you a feel for how quickly it opens. This is actually pretty quick compared to some other vehicles out there. And then this is the setup with those passenger seats up. So you do have plenty of room back here. It's a nice rectangular shape, which I love. The wheel wells don't infringe on the space too much. And then underneath the floor, there's also a storage area right here for you. It's a good size. The floor is made out of kind of a styrofoam-like material, but it feels like it's pretty durable. And then also back here you get a power port, which is nice to have. And then my favorite features are these two controls built into the side. They're just latches. You do have to give them kind of an aggressive tug, and then it causes those back seats to fold forward automatically for you. It really is a great feature to have. It's super convenient and useful. Another control I really like is the button built into the bottom of the hatch. You just press it and the door will automatically close for you. Alright, so that's pretty much all the major highlights of the 2018 Equinox, at least the LT trim level. I was fortunate enough to rent this one for the second time, and this time I had it for 3 days and put about 300 miles on it. And in that time I really felt like I got a good understanding of this vehicle. So I think what you should be asking me at the end of this review is whether or not I would recommend this car to you. Yes or no? Yes, the Chevy Equinox is a great mid-sized SUV. A couple of my favorite features, the touchscreen. Even though it's not best in class, it works great and it's easy to use. I also like the key fob. I love that it has a nice weight to it, and the range is actually pretty impressive. And then finally, I love those controls all the way in the back to help you collapse the rear seats. Super, super convenient to have. Anyway, that's it for the 2018 Chevy Equinox LT with all-wheel drive. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you join me next time when I review my 90th rental car. That will be the 2018 Nissan Frontier. I'll see you then.